Hello and welcome to a new Let's Play. This time we are going to play Milan and I'm going to show off the first 5 years of Milan. Last time, which is already like half a year ago or more, we played Naples and I showed off the basic mechanics of the mod in here and told you or showed you how you could play Naples. This time we are going with Milan, which I'm going to show in more detail in a second. Now, if you are a new player, you're going to load into the mod and you're going to pick Milan, and then you're getting greeted by a lot of stuff and you just have to let the mod load out everything until you hit the Welcome to MEIOU and Taxes 3.0 mod. Now, I do recommend to unlock the settings here so that you can change them if you really need to. In general, it's just a standard setting here. I'm not going to dive into details here. We're going to let the game begin here. And most of the time, most countries here are getting greeted by this government reform abolished stuff, which you can just ignore because it's stuff we changed from the vanilla game, which the game assumes you have, but you can't. So it's just changing stuff in the background. Now, we see the first important thing compared to Naples, for example. We are going to start with commercialization, which is institution we get from the start. But I'm going to look into that later. Now, we are playing Milan in the north of Italy. We are here. We are currently at war. Don't be surprised by that. It's an easily winnable war. We are fighting Montferrat, Ferrara, and Mantua. It's not a problem at all. We're going to merge our armies. And I do recommend in this case to just hire a general and make your king a general and then pick whatever is better. In this case, I'm going with my general here. And first target is going to be Mantua. However, before we unpause, we need to do some stuff here. So, for example, we have merchants. I do recommend to check out my new trade video, which I'm going to release alongside because we changed a lot about trade. Therefore, your merchants are no longer necessary for unlocking other regions to be traded with. It's now done automatically in the background, and your merchants are a little bit back to a more standard EU4 experience or purpose. So we can think about where we can make money. Right now, we only are present in the Po Valley here. So we are going to put one merchant here, and most likely we can have some power here in Genoa or Tyrrhenian Sea, so let's put them there. Now, our diplomats, we are at war, so I do recommend that we are going to make a spy network in Montferrat. I don't think we need a spy network in Ferrara and Mantua because we want to kick them out of the war as fast as possible. And what else do we want to maybe have good relations with? For example, we could consider to ally Austria, or okay, Bohemia is out of the question, it's a rival. So, or Hungary. Yeah, let's go with Hungary here. They are also at war, so they will not do alliances from the get-go, the same as we do, because we are at war, we cannot pick alliances at day 2, for example. Now, next step, we definitely need advisors. At the first instance, I do recommend to pick what you need here in the war. It's mainly either morale of armies or discipline, manpower, training cost, and recovery of army is also quite nice. If you're really lucky, you can also check out which faction they belong to. In this case, I definitely go with the commandant here because it's from the bureaucratic faction, which is the feather here, so let's pick him. In regards to I don't want to have an aristocratic diplomat here, so I'm going to pick the the statesman. No, okay, we have to take it. I want the improved relations here because we are going to accrue a lot of aggressive expansion here. So that's something I want to avoid. And yeah, let's take the alderman here. Even though our balance is currently negative, this will change as soon as the startup events are through. And we can also promote him here. Now we get our leader is proud, that's okay. Next we want to check is our ideas in fact. So we do have trade and administrative ideas, that's nice. And also let's check out the national ideas here. We do have rural production efficiency, harborage, so we are better at production and our harbors are a bit better. We have harbors here on the river, so don't be confused by that. Diplomatic reputation and relations, that's useful. We do have a ruler authority, I'm going to explain that a little bit later. Prestige decay, commerce, that's good, so more trade. Armaments, so we are producing more weapons, that's good. Urban output, that's good for our cities. We do have large cities. Amenities, which is for cities too, and we do have all power cost stability. Okay, that's good. So they are all quite nice, really good idea set. Not every nation currently has unique ideas, but Lombardy or Milan is one of them. Now, what are the rurals and the urbans we talked about? Let's check out our provinces. I do recommend you watch some of my other explanatory videos if you can. So we do have here rural development, urban development, and higher development or upper class development. And Lombardy here is one major city in Italy. We do have here a total of almost 100,000 residents and 130,000 peasants in that province here. So we do have a lot of stuff here. We are relatively rich, and most importantly, if you look at the industries here, we do have steel and armaments here, which is extremely nice, and steel is very, very profitable here. And also our infrastructure levels here are quite high for early game, which is not present in many states at this quality right now. Okay, before we check out our provinces in more detail, so we do have some poor provinces here like Valtellina, which is in the Alps. But we also have some nice provinces like Parma here, which is another large city. We got Res is mostly, that's a little bit city. Cremona is also a big city. Brescia is also a city, and many peasants, in fact more than in Lombardy. And Bergheim is also a nice city here. Bergheim is Germany, Bergheim is here. Now, what else do we have? Grishun is not ours. So, yeah, we are not going to dive into the industries and stuff like that right now, but if we check out Lombardy here, we can see that we have available farmland, which our peasants can expand into and grow further and get richer. Let's first of all solve all the stuff up here. We have an institution we can embrace. The commercialization is starting in North Italy. It's more or less the first instances of banking and money making, and new concept of capitalism basically taking hold. We are going to embrace it. It's going to reduce costs here of future technology. So for example, the next one here would cost 5% more if we do not have embraced commercialization, but we do have, so we are quite cost efficient here. Now, next one is going to be the policies. There are a lot of policies here which I'm going to show off after we finish the war, but as decisions, the policies here, what we are going to pick in is to centralize the state, which I'm going to show here. It's basically the equivalent to absolutism in the normal game, and we are currently at the maximum here. Interesting. So can we reform something to get more centralization? So that's the devolution tier 6 government reform here. We do need 20 state reach. And we do have regionalism, so that's fine. And we just need state reach. And with that we can dive into the estates. And the state is one of the estates. It's a bureaucracy estate basically, and we have nobility, burghers, clergy and tribes, but tribes are not present here because we are a, well, developed country more or less. So our burghers are quite happy. We are going to So there are two things we can do. We can leverage them or support them. There are other interactions which you can go through. For example, you can interact with your clergy, for example, if you need help with missionaries, but that's not the case currently. The clergy is relatively powerful and relatively loyal here. The reforms are quite in their favor. So, for example, they do not pay taxes and they have more or less full authority in their churches. So the state cannot intervene in whatever they do. In regards to commercials, but what our burghers are handling, we have commercial law, which is extremely advanced. So we are in a very good shape and we do have extensive city charters, which means that our cities have relative independence from the state, but also relative independence from the nobility, which cannot interfere in their affairs. Now, we are not going to interact with the burghers because they are 100% loyal, so they are not going to pose a problem. However, our nobility here has a loyalty of 44% and 57% power, which is very high. However, they do not have many privileges here, so you can go through them here. It's just basically... they have a minimal obligation, so that's quite something we maybe want to change relatively early on. Or we do have volunteers as military service. Okay, so that's fine. Basically, the idea is so everyone starts relatively feudal at the start. So military is levied from the nobilities as feudal levies, which is here extended levies is one of the reforms we currently have. However, we also have volunteers as a military reform in our bureaucracy, which is scaling with state reach. However, state reach is at 4%, basically non-existent, so volunteers are not really anything important right now. So we might want to increase state reach and we might want to lower the obligations reform over time to get more military from our nobility. However, first of all, we need to make them more loyal, so we are going to support the nobility here. We are going to support their faction, which is going to give them 10% loyalty, so they're 54% now, and then we are also going to give them concessions, which is giving them loyalty again, and it's in decreasing our prestige and centralization over time. However, the debuff from centralization should be countered by the policy we enacted earlier. And then we are at 64%. I do think the rest here we could marry into them, which gives us a very bad concert right now, makes them stronger. We don't want that. We could, yeah, we had 99% loyal legitimacy, so we could disown an unpopular relative, which is going to lose us 5 legitimacy. Yeah, we're going to do this. Fine. 71%, so they are going to be less of a hassle and give us more military, because that's basically scaling with loyalty. As you can see here in the reform, minus 80% manpower from nobility based on their loyalty, so that's quite strong. Now, in general, you want to keep your estates relatively happy, and whenever you can squeeze in, you want to remove one of their privileges or even do a reform. We currently cannot do any reform because we don't have the administrative power or the other power points we require for the reforms. What I would recommend here is, if you play Milan, I would look into weakening the nobility, probably not by doing reforms, because, well, you could do the aristocracy reform. Yeah, I think I would aim for this one. You just need a little bit of bureaucratic influence, which you can get by directing the bureaucracy here. We don't have the option right now to support the bureaucracy because we just clicked supporting the nobility, which is in here, influential aristocrats. We just supported them, but if you need the influence, you can do it here. And then you might have a chance to do the aristocratic reforms. However, they will be furious, you will lose 60 loyalty or something, so be aware of that. Have some support ready to support them if you do. Maybe we can achieve it in the first 5 years, but maybe not. Everything else we are going to... Yeah, I think I want to finish the war before I start increasing my state reach. I also, just as a minor notion, you can also do some edicts here in your states. However, we currently have a very bad ruler, so we cannot do any of these edicts, which are depending on the skill of your ruler. It needs to have at least 4 in one of these skills, or you need to unlock certain ideas to make these edicts. So for example, if you want to collect more taxes and therefore have more money, you need administrative skill 4. However, they also cost upkeep if you do them, so be very careful what you do. For example, one which might be interesting is the city growth, for example, which is increasing the attraction of your cities and therefore your growth rate in these cities. But now let's first of all unpause here and see through the other startup events. I'm going to speed up because we just need to get through the first 10 days, and now as you can see here, we've got the Catholic faith. Let's again begin. If you want, you can read a bit more about the Catholic faith. Now, the aristocratic faction is in power, and we fasted some institution. Genoa also accepted commercialization as everyone else around us is going to do. And okay, we just lost the CB against Krishun, which is fine, we couldn't declare war anyway. And okay, let's continue here. Now, we are at war, so we can loot them. I do think I just want to be light looting because most of the cities I want to take, at least Pavia, and in the future I want to take the other stuff here too, but we are in the HIE. In fact, let's check this out. Political. So the HIE currently looks like this. The borders are south of us, so everything is in the HIE. Genoa is not, so that's a very tasty expansion target after we took Pavia, because it will not be that expensive. There, delegate the text code. I would recommend here to just accept what is in here, and I will show you in a second where you can see your text, which is here. So you can see what of your diplomatic, admin and military power is spent on what kind of taxation. And if you see, for example, like in our case right now, volunteers take 17 military and we do only have 4% state reach, and I'm pretty sure we are not getting much out of it. So let's check in fact in detail. National military. Now we want to check out the state army here. Yeah, we're getting 6,000 manpower from them. Volunteers. So maximum is 12k. We get 7k from the feudal levy, some 1.3k from citizens. Tribals, of course, nothing. Okay, so it's decent, in fact. Yeah, it's decent. I do think we just want to... Oh, wait a second, we also get volunteer... Yeah, we have citizen levy, yeah, okay. Fine. Okay, so it could be worse. I'm not going to decrease the military power, but what I'm going to do is to change the song, because I don't like this one. Okay. So, now let's focus on the war. There are still some events coming up. Here's one of the first Poland events, which we're going to ignore. And now let's grab this army of Mantua here, and afterwards we are going to move into Mantua to kick them out. We are going to accept the courier information, which is basically the papacy. And now let's speed up a bit. And okay, that was Mantua's army. And now we are going to siege down the capital of them. And the big benefit here is because they lost their army, they don't have any armies left. They don't want to be sieged down, so let's force them into a wide peace here. And get them out. And now we are going to intercept the Veronese army here. And get them out too. Okay, that was this war. Next startup event Investment manager, we are going to add all our provinces. So everything we own is going to go into the investment manager. We are going to give him a 25% budget here. Tell him to do investments every 3 years and to notify us when it happens. So we're going to get at least one automatic investment, which we can look at when it happens. It's basically doing investments in our country and managing them for us. We can still do that manually, but... Ooh. Okay, 1st of February, there's a little bit of a lag because of all of the startup events. We lost stability, which is fine. We are now at 0. And now we are going to wipe the Montferrat army here. And bye-bye. It's our territory, so they get the penalties here. Perfect. Now, we want to kick out Ferrara out of the war. So we are going to have a look at them. They're making a new army here. We are going to scare them off here. And then wipe their army on the capital. That should be fine. Perfect. Now, let's see if we can take them out from the get-go here. Yes, we can. So they lost all their armies. They're getting sieged. You can consider to take Modena here or release Modena, in fact. But taking Pavia and Modena is nothing you can afford. So I would just recommend to save and conserve manpower here. Make a white peace because you're going to need a lot of manpower for sieging Montferrat. Okay, we're getting alliance offers here from Genoa. Nope. Sitten. Where is Sitten? Here. Yeah, that's a good vessel, in fact. So let's take it. And then we can vassalize them later on. And it's a neighbor of us, so it's a good expansion path. Continue. Now the startup events are mostly through, so we could do a military policy, but we don't want to reduce our manpower recovery speed because we are going to need it, so let's ignore it. There are decisions we can do, yes, but they are mostly stuff for whatever we want to do here. I'm going to show that later, so let's ignore that for a second. Disputed successions, we are not going to bother with that right now. And we do have stuff here which we can take. So now let's take care of Montferrat here. We want to take Pavia, so let's in fact simulate a peace deal here. We do have a core, I think, on both of them, yes. It's going to be relatively expensive though. So if we take Pavia, it's already 33 aggressive expansion. And we could take... No, Ast is only a claim. Okay, so let's not take Ast 2. Because then they would be one state, one province, and then they could join, for example, Genoa's trade league. So we want to take Pavia only. We're going to need 2 units here to siege it, so let's... Yeah, let's wipe their army first, and then we can siege it down. Come on. Perfect. We are going to leave 1 unit here. And then move into the capital. And there goes their army. Now we are... Okay, that doesn't have fortifications. So this army does not... this province does not have a fort. And it also does not have garrisons as infrastructure. Now let's look at Lombardy in comparison. Lombardy, for example, has a fort, which gives them a fort level +1. But it also has garrisons here, which gives it another +1 fortification. And it's our capital, so we are at 3. It also, from the garrisons infrastructure here, we get more garrison growth, more defensiveness, and local movement speed for enemies is lower. And also the training cost is decreased here. So for the Lombardy province here, it's much harder to siege because you have to get Peru is port level 3. Instead, for example, here we do have port level 1. The highest fort level at start most likely is Byzantium here, which has fort level 6 from the Theodosian walls and a modern castle here. This one is nearly impossible to siege in early game until you have cannons. For example, Paris also has like castle level, fort level 3 here. Okay. While we siege this down, we can have a look at the other infrastructure here. Now, we do have capital infrastructure, which is basically for your capital itself, which is going to give you bonuses for your empire. I'm not going to explain them right now. I do recommend to look at my other videos to understand what communication efficiency is. Short, it's like how long stuff needs to travel to your provinces, and therefore its autonomy level is influenced by that. What else do you have? You have amenities here. Amenities are necessary for your urban population. We currently have urban housing 80k. Next level would be 200k. We currently have 99k, so we are above our level. Therefore, our birth rate is negative because people are dying off because they don't have enough housing there. Garrisons I already explained. Then we have infrastructure for roads, which is basically the same for what the capital infrastructure does, now just on a local level, decreasing the time to travel in these provinces, therefore increasing your autonomy if you have a higher infrastructure. Then there's also irrigation here, which is just boosting your food and stuff. And last but not least, we have the trade harbor here, or the harborage infrastructure, which is for naval, but also can also be a way of travel, therefore influencing your autonomy. For example, the Po River is floating into the Gulf of Venice here. If we were to have a province here like Istria, for example, but we don't own the provinces here, then the communication could go by road to Istria directly, which also has a harbor, and then it would be connected and you would have a much lower autonomy compared to if you don't have a harbor, because then it's not reachable, more or less. So what we want to do here, so we are going to mark these provinces by selecting it. Now we have a red pin here. We are going to build infrastructure here, and you need to pin a province to interact with it. Let's check it out. What kind of stuff do we have here? Okay. So what we do not have here is any kind of higher education, which is more or less universities. So we are going to do two things. We're going to open up a new industry and we are going to build infrastructure. So let's start with the industry. We want to have an urban industry which is called higher learning. This province needs to have at least 10,000 urban population, which it has. It has almost 100k, so we are going to open it up. And now in the industry tab, you can see higher education is opened up with 0% and 0 throughput right now. So this is going to be initialized in the next year, and then it can start to grow. Next step, we are going to build infrastructure here. What do we want to do? We want to build amenities level 4. Improve amenities to rank 4. Prepare to construct. And it would cost us 146 here, which is relatively cheap, which means that we are already close to amenities 4. So let's in fact look at that in detail. Now, there is property here, which is another tooltip. So you can go through them. You have basically all information about this province in here, like terrain, what stuff is in here, how large is it, how fertile is it. You have like stuff for your administration, how much state reach do you have, how corrupt it is it. You have information about the military levied in this province. You have your loyalties of your elites in this province. You have unrest in this province. You have the religions in this province. For example, we are Catholic and we have a Jewish minority here. The population, which I already showed. Property, which we are going to inspect in a second. Industry. Detailed view of industry, like how much it is making, how much labor it requires, how much profit it makes, and so on. We have a trade overview, which I'm going to check out in a sec, or in the next year most likely. And some buffs here, for example, we are the largest city on the subcontinent, therefore Italy here. Important center of trade, important center of production, natural location, because we are on a major river. And we do have some war death from manpower, so some people from Lombardy have died in the war. Now, we are going to continue in the background. Now, what we want to check is the infrastructure. So if you press A, you can go through different layers of this UI. Now we can see the share of each estate in this province. For example, the peasants own 35% of all the resources and 36.8% of the farmland. Okay, so that's all fine. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in the page 4, which is explaining the urban infrastructure or the general infrastructure here. Now what we can see here is amenities are at 53 of 60, and at 60 it would level up to level 4. So we only need to create 7 more levels, 7 more units of amenities to get the next level. For example, the capital is 0 of 10. So if you make 10 levels of capital, then units of capital, then you would get to level 1. So what we can see here, for example, is that irrigation is relatively far away from the next level. Pathing is relatively far away. Haverage 2. Garrison also 2. But the amenities is very close. So that's why it is relatively cheap. The more levels, the more units you have to make, the more expensive it gets to upgrade it. Let's, for example, check out Parma here. Parma has 30 of 60, so this one is going to be much more expensive to upgrade. So let's in fact check it out. We are going to do the same we want to do with Milan. And if we want to build it here, it would already cost us 682, so 5 times cost. That's why, okay, I'm clear the selection here. Lombardy is much cheaper to upgrade, and that's what we want to do. So we want to get some money to do the upgrade. And I hope, of course, that we can squeeze some money out of Montferrat here. As soon as we have siege down, let's move here and move them out. And increase the speed a bit, because now it's just... Okay, the Venice Alliance is always breaking, so you cannot save it, because Milan does not like that you win this war. It's basically not preventable. Which is fine, because Venice is not a problem for you here. Venice is not in the HRE, so it will not attack you, and it has neighbors in between. Now we are going to wait out the war, and then we are going to go back into diplomacy and other things. Okay, Piedmont is now home to a cardinal, and we had the 1st January. 1st of January is always a small leg, or a large leg, which is basically most of the calculations the game does. That's the death we have to take here in this mod, because we are changing so much stuff. Okay, and let's finish the war and then see what we can get out of it. 1st of February is also a minor leg, which is... I think the communication efficiency calculations are in February, but don't nail me down on that one. It's just that most of the calculations we do in the background for all the stuff we are displaying here are done in January and February, so that's where you have the major legs. Okay, now we could loot Pavia to get some more money out of it. I don't want to, so we are going to spare it, because I want to take it over and I don't want to have a looted province in my realm. However, we now have 86% war score, so we can in fact... war reps. How much money can we make? 60. Do we have a rivalry? Wrong country. Montferrat here, okay. Is it worth though to get a humiliate here? How much would it get us? Let's check it out. So we need to get down to 60. Then we would get 40 power projection. Oh, that's in fact good. But we can't do 100% war score here, so we would need to go down to 94. We got 25 money of 60. 60 money is about 1.75 per year, per month. 12, 20 per year. So 3 years of income is 60, and we would. Yeah, I do think that the. Let's take the humiliate here. We do have enough to make the city upgrade here, so let's take it. There we go. And now we also fulfilled a mission. We take Pavia. We're going to take legitimacy and prestige. There we go. And now we can pick new rivalries here. So let's go with Venice, which is now a historical rival. And let's also counter rivalry Bohemia. And now we get some. We don't have enough to get +1 monarch power. Okay. That's sad, but it's fine. Okay, and what do we want to do now? Yeah, we wanted to build infrastructure here, so let's build it. Ooh, it's 160 now. That's not good. Now, what might have changed is, let's check it out in detail. So the amenities level did not decrease. However, what might have changed is that our, for example, which I didn't check out, on page 4 of population, you see the wages. Rural wage might have changed, so the construction cost of building it might be higher now. Or the other thing which I wanted to dive into is the cost of products. So, for example, what we are going to need here, does it say in here? Wait a second, maybe it shows. No, it doesn't show. Amenities do require some goods like industrial goods, so they might have increased slightly in price. The other products also slightly increased in price, so that's what drives up the costs of the project now. Which means we do need to wait for some 2 or 3 taxes. Okay, now we do have enough, and let's do it. We cannot afford, yeah, we cannot afford now, so let's do it. And now we do have the overlay here, ongoing construction, 7 units of amenities. We are trying to build 5 units at the same time, which is parallelism. And the demanded goods and labor will be updated as soon as the event for this has triggered in the background. Now, before I make a cut, and I will do this, make this a 2-parter, so we need a new rivalry here. Naples, Genoa. Sorry, but you are the next on the chopping block here, so we are going to build a spy network here, and then we are going to claim Nigeria. Where was I? I forgot. I'm going to make this a 2-parter because most of the explanation I'm doing is taking time, so there's not much progression. And now we finished the first initial war, and now the second part is more focused on looking into the trade overview, which I'm going to show, the goods we produce, looking deeper into the provinces, and explaining how you might continue as Milan here, and what to look for, especially, for example, some ideas about idea groups, expansion path, but also like politically, how you could, for example, aim. You could aim for being the emperor if you want to, and keep Italy in the empire if you want to, but you could also just, well, aim for leaving in the near future, like in the 1400s, where the normal EU4 also drops out these Italian states. So you could follow the same path, or even leave earlier if you, for example, consolidated most of North Italy. But we are going to dive into that in the next episode. So see you in the second part, and then the 5 years are quickly probably over. Now we did almost 2 years, and they took a long time, but that was the initial phase.